Well, hello again, folks. I've been wearing the PD1707 for a week now, and I want to let you know what my thoughts on it are. Here is the watch. Now, I've been getting on really well with this watch. I think this watch is absolutely fantastic, especially for the price that they're charging. But it does have one or two faults, which we'll move on to first of all. First thing, perhaps because it's a Pagani design, the Lume isn't very good. Now I'll show you here, this is the Lume shot. Now with the Lume, it actually doesn't look as bad as other people have reported at first, but the hour and the minute hand are significantly less lumed than the indices. Now the hour and the minute hand there's much less area of lume on those. They're thin, and that might be part of the reason. Within the first minute, the minute hand all but disappears from view because the lume fades very quickly. However, I've got to say that to the naked eye, it's actually visible for quite a lot longer than that. If you were to wear the watch on your wrist, waking up in the middle of the night after being asleep for a couple of hours, you'd probably still be able to make the hands out. Not so much later on. This lume will not last the whole night long. So that's the first thing. Second issue is to do with the clasp. Again, the clasp, Pagani clasp. Now the issue is, on these little H units, there's some very sharp edges. Just here. Now I'll show you a bit closer on this picture here. What we're talking about is these bits here. Now these little areas are quite sharp. They won't actually cut you, although they could cut you if they were actually in a more exposed situation. But again, it's just a little bit of poor finishing, which goes to show where the corners are cut with these watches. So that's the first thing with the bracelet. Second thing with the bracelet is it has push pins, not screws. You will need to take, I had to take 4 out in order to fit my wrist. Usually it's only 3 links, but this is a significantly different designed link to an oyster link, and I think perhaps they're a little bit narrower in themselves, and because of that, well, I had to take 4 out anyway. If you've got a bigger wrist, you'll probably find that this watch fits you perfectly well, but just bear in mind it's push pins, not screws, and the little tool that they provide with you with it in the box isn't adequate for the task. You have to use a little mechanical screw-in one to push these out safely, otherwise you'll be pushing and pushing and pushing and you'll probably scratch it or something. Anyway, the push pins. The other thing is the deployment clasp here. Now the deployment clasp protrudes out a little bit, and other people that have reviewed these watches have complained that sometimes it can deploy on its own and your watch would be at risk. Now this is particularly of concern if there's things wrong with this bracelet, because this bracelet isn't interchangeable with other bracelets, but I personally found it secure enough. I haven't had any problems with accidental deployment of the clasp. Yeah, but the little buttons do protrude a little bit, and I did have one occasion where I put my hand into a jacket pocket and the jacket pocket caught there and it deployed the clasp and I had to refasten the clasp. So that's something to be aware of. One chap has a video on YouTube somewhere where he actually smooths them down. He actually takes a file to them and shortens them, makes them smaller in order to address this issue. I think that's a shame he had to do that, because otherwise I think he probably found that the watch was great out of the box, as I have. So anyway, here we have it. The watch is water resistant to 200 meters. Now I hadn't paid much attention to the specification when I bought the watch, and I thought it was 100 meter water resistant, but the back claims a water resistance of 200 meters. But that of course is with the caveat, as always with these chronographs, is if they have the secure collars on the pushers, you have to make sure that they are screwed down, as is the crown. Because if the crown and the pushers aren't screwed down, your water resistance will be compromised. But anyway, it's absolutely brilliant. You get 200 meters of water resistance with this watch. It makes it a great holiday watch. I've worn this with a variety of different outfits, and I found that it just sort of fits wherever you go. It's a really nice, handsome looking watch, and one of its best qualities, we're coming on to the good stuff now, after the 200-meter water resistant. One of the best things about this watch is its appearance. The facets on this bracelet catch the light beautifully. I've got a little video clip of me rolling my wrist here, and you'll see them catching the light. It really, the camera doesn't do it credit. It looks beautiful in bright sunshine, even in subdued light and indoors in a bar or whatever. This is a real eye catcher. It really does play with the light. Now, the best thing about the watch at all is the dial. The dial does a very good job of replicating Audemars Piguet's signature patisserie dial. Now, have a look at this. This is a little waffle shape on the dial of a genuine Audemars Piguet. Now, you see how beautiful that is, how intricate it is. Now have a look at the patisserie dial Homage on this Pagani design. Isn't that a really good effort? Now, it's not exactly the same, it's not as intricate. The individual square waffles are closer together on this one, and there's no design in between them. But you can see the radial spiral that's been cut into the entire face, goes over the flat spots on all of the top of those waffles, and it looks really good, really good. It's a very, very intricate looking dial. Also, the sub-dials are very nicely executed as well. So, all in all, this watch is an absolute stunner. Really, really good looking. Now, as I said in my unboxing video, it's not an exact photocopy of a Royal Oak chronograph, but you can absolutely see where the lineage of the design comes from. So no congratulations to Pagani for this. They've made a very good job of imitating the Audemars Piguet, and imitation is, in this case, a very sincere form of flattery. Now, because of, it's a homage watch, and a lot of people don't like that, because homage watches are, well, they're so much less high quality than the real thing. People do look down on them a little bit. But this watch here costs less than £100, considerably less than £100 sterling. That means that for a tiny fraction of the price of an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, you can have 90% of the appearance of the watch without actually pretending that the watch is the real thing. And I think that that's absolutely brilliant. For a comparable price, you could get this Casio chronograph. Now, the Casio chronograph doesn't have 200 meters of water resistant, doesn't have a sapphire crystal like this watch does, and the steel bracelet on the Casio is actually folded steel. It's very lightweight. I think that this is a better value proposition even before you look at the quality of the execution of the dial. So there you have that. I think this is brilliant value for money. Now, if you had the money to buy a genuine Audemars Piguet, you probably still wouldn't be able to get it. I was walking recently through the Argyle Arcade in Glasgow, off Glasgow's Buchanan Street, where there are a lot of authorised dealers, and their window displays for the last year or so have been empty. They don't have stock. Because of, amongst other things, Instagram, second-hand values of these things have rocketed way beyond the new list prices, and the waiting lists to get one are absolutely phenomenal if you're buying from the manufacturer, or at least from an authorised dealer. So this isn't a realistic proposition to people, but most people, even if they have the money to pay the list price for it. So that's another aspect of why homages aren't as wicked as you think. Now, I'm not knocking Instagram, because without Instagram, the replica watch industry would have died, and probably the hire of expensive sports cars, people renting supercars in order to flex on their Instagram accounts. That will probably have went by the wayside as well during the last recession. So at least Instagram is supporting worldwide industry, although maybe some of the industries aren't the ones that we would actually want to see propagated. Anyway, moving on a bit. This watch is absolutely wonderful, and I would recommend it to anyone. It comes in several dial combinations. There's this one with the black dial with the silver sub-dials. There is an all silver faced one, and there's also a blue dial with silver subdials. All three of which look excellent, and I'm sure you would be happy to own any of them. I think Pagani have knocked it out of the park with this one, although as I do say, there are faults with the watch, so you need to be aware of them before you spend your hard-earned money. I'm going to leave you with a couple of shots of it fading out. I think this is a really good buy, and I thoroughly recommend it. I'm glad I bought one for myself. Until the next video, bye bye for now.